To demonstrate the randomization test option in the efficient cause analysis procedure, let's again take a look at these data from Wilson and Shota. Here we have participant number 9's ratings of these different feelings and fears across 53 consecutive days. Now we also have ratings of daily stress as well. Now to understand the randomization test, let's take a look at some patterns. So we'll select the Examine Patterns button, and let's magnify this a bit so we can see more clearly what's going on. And let's look at her ratings of feeling anxious. Now recall that the red line here indicates those ratings of anxiety across the 53 days. Those range from 0 to 10. And the blue line indicates the ratings of stress, again, across the 53 consecutive days, ranging from 0 to 10. Now using the simple eye test, these two patterns seem to match up. The pattern for the red line, pattern for the blue line, they seem to correspond fairly closely across the 53 consecutive days. And indeed, the PCC index here we can see is 70%, which seems like a fairly high value. Now we can ask, is the correspondence between the two lines here due to a true cause and effect relationship, or is it due to just physical chance? It's a bit of a haphazard pairing here between the lines, and so it's really just an apparent correspondence between the anxiety and stress ratings. Now to help choose between those two inferences, we can use the chance value. And what we're going to do with the chance value is just randomly shuffle, using the default option, we're going to randomly shuffle the numbers for the blue line. So for instance, we might take day number 1, which is a rating of 8, and move that over to day 26. Take day number 18, move that to day 2, and so forth. So we're going to randomly shuffle the values within that blue line. And then we're going to compute the PCC index. Now, based on that randomized pattern, do we see a PCC of at least 70%? Now, if we do that over and over again, we create, let's say, 1,000 different randomized versions of the data. So we have 1,000 randomized PCCs. How often do we see a PCC index of 70% or higher? Now, if it's the case that we don't find that very often, then we can rule out physical chance. It appears that it's not easy to just randomly shuffle the data and get 70% or higher. So then we would move on to a causal interpretation of the correspondence between the two patterns. Now here we can see that with 1,000 randomized trials, we did not find a single PCC of 70% or higher, so our chance value here is less than 0.001. Now let's go ahead and take a look at feeling incompetent. And again, using the eye test here, it doesn't look very good, so that's bad news. And then the PCC index is fairly low at 42%. So at this point, we would probably just stop and say we do not have a cause and effect relationship between the ratings of incompetence and the daily stress. But if we were on the fence about this, we would look at the chance value, and here we see it's 0.1230. Then we can use that to possibly rule out physical chance. Now there are no cut points with observation-oriented modeling, nor should there be any sort of cut point with the chance value. 0.12 may not seem very low to some, it may seem very low to others. But that's up to the researcher to ultimately decide. But again, our emphasis really is on the eye test first and then the PCC index, and that is probably enough here to move on to the next feeling or fear to look for the causes of her daily stress. But let's go ahead and close out this window, and I have the individual results selected here. I'm going to turn on the randomization test and let's select OK to run it. Takes a moment to get set up, and then you can see it iterating through to the 1,000 iterations. And let's in fact take a look at these individual results here, and we can see the 70% for the feeling anxious with the C value less than 0.001. Here we see the feeling incompetent. Now notice the chance value here has changed because I just randomly shuffled the data. Every time you randomly shuffle your data, that chance value is going to wiggle a little bit. It's going to change a little bit, but that's part of the nature of randomization tests. And so we could look through the various PCC indices here and look for the highest values. Here we see 64.58% feeling rushed. Chance value there is again low. And let's see, what else? Do we have any others above 60? Here we have 60.42%. Chance value is again low. So what we would want to do is go back to that window and examine these particular feelings and fears to see if they pass the eye test. But nonetheless, this is how the randomization test works in the efficient cause analysis.